Brilliance Audio.
Small Deaths by Rijula Das. Performed by Deepa Samuel. Lalee had learned the word fantasy. For reasons he couldn't articulate, this made Tilu very jealous. Tilu Shau, obscure writer of erotic fiction, had been visiting Lalee for months now. Every second Wednesday, when his book sales and assorted hustling yielded enough cash for him to afford Lalee's door fees. He was a slight man, and nothing much to look at. It didn't matter to him now, but he still remembered all those little ways his heart had sunk when he was a schoolboy, and a pretty girl wouldn't deign to give him a second glance. Especially now, as Lalee stood leaning on her doorframe, smoking a cigarette, face averted from him. Not too long ago, he had read a book on the mysteries of the human psyche. Everything it said had its origin in childhood. And though Tilu couldn't fault his mother for more than an occasional smack across the head and a haphazard sort of neglect, he understood that now it was de rigueur to blame mothers for one's adult failings. He therefore speculated that his troubles began with his mother not being able to remember exactly when, during her 2-day labor pains, the tiny, wrinkled body of Tilu Shau touched the earth. Or that he didn't quite touch the earth, but plopped unceremoniously into the hands of the buxom nurse with the prominent rabbit teeth, who scrunched up her nose and, pressing her front teeth down on her lower lip, said, ma, in a nasal falsetto, before holding him up for the benefit of his mother, who, he was led to believe, had croaked a little. Such was the music of his passage onto this earth, and it had set the background score for the rest of his life. His father was proud of him nonetheless, first male heir, and so on. Parental pride had eventually given way to bitter disappointment, but at the time of his birth, overcome with emotion, his father foisted upon him the name Tilu, God of 3 realms. The family name, however, could not be remedied. Still, there were all kinds of benefits to being low caste these days. At least he'd get a government job through some well-meaning quota, Tilu's father had thought. However, not only would Tilu fail spectacularly at getting that government job, he also started writing erotic novellas at a dangerously tender age. As it happened, Tilu wanted to put his theoretical knowledge to practical use. Since he was no prince, had no idea how to talk to women, and possessed all the charm of a leftover roti, the usual routes of courtship normally earned him 1 brandished slipper and a volley of threats from both the object of his attentions and all the local thugs, dadas, and old coots of her neighborhood. After some stellar fiascos, Tilu did what every failed Romeo did in Calcutta. One early evening, clad in a mostly white pajama Punjabi, Tilu stood in front of the Dino Tarini Ma Kali temple and mumbled a prayer. Ma, mother, a few times before hitting his forehead thrice in quick succession on the grime-plated sacred floor. He walked purposely to the half-broken, non-air-conditioned Bank of Baroda ATM and withdrew a conservative amount of cash, hiding it surreptitiously in the right front pocket of his briefs. He looked around, but grown men with hands inside their pants was such a commonplace scene in metropolitan Calcutta that no one had paid him any attention. His first time in Shonagachi was an adventure and a battle. He'd heard the name whispered in dark corners, a name that conveyed nameless titillations Tilu had been too virginal to understand. He wasn't the kind of man who'd stride confidently into the city's most famous red-light district.